unity, collaboration, service, togetherness, using our powers and our abilities to better ourselves and one another is Dripping in Black.
Welcome to the Dripping in Black podcast, where we celebrate Black excellence throughout the Black diaspora. Here's your host, David V. Lewis.
What's up, good people all across the world? This is the Dripping in Black podcast. I am your host, David V. Lewis. And as usual, we have another fantastic guest. Today's guest is Darius Lewis. Darius, say hello to the world.
What's up, world?
Yeah, so today's episode is a very, very special one. Since Darius is my firstborn, my oldest child, and someone whom I'm very proud of and love to just kick it with. But oddly enough, this is our fourth season, and I've been chasing him for the whole 4 seasons to come on to the podcast. But he's a busy, busy man, and he finally made time for his dad. So we'll get into Darius and what he does and, in terms of Black excellence throughout this world. But we always start off with a very simple but loaded question of who is our guest. So who is Darius Lewis?
Yeah, so my answer is probably going to be one of the most simple answers, but Darius is just a human being. I'm just a person here on this planet trying to make the most of my experience, and make the most of my experience for myself and for those I care about, all those around me. So yeah, I think I'm just somebody to make an impact the best way I know how.
Yeah, and that's in essence what your story is going to be a lot about. So we'll get into that. But tell the world a little bit about where you're from and your upbringing.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Detroit. Both of my parents are East Siders, and
East Side?
Yeah. So, but I've always tell everybody that I've lived a little bit of everywhere throughout the city. So I have that as a part of me, and even eventually moving out to the suburbs and living in Sterling Heights during my later teen years. So yeah, born to David and Kristen, brother, father, husband, all of the hats, all of the above. And yeah, now I'm here.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about your high school experience. What schools did you attend?
Yeah, so I started at Cass Tech, 9th grade, made it about halfway through 9th grade at Cass, and ended up, having to move schools. I think that year I went to Redford High School, second semester for 9th grade. My mom basically wanted me to go to Cass Tech so bad that she did some work to get me back at Cass. So went into Cass Tech for my sophomore year, started off there, wasn't able to finish at Cass and had to get moved again. And I finished my sophomore year at Mumford High School. And then eventually, my junior year, maybe the summer right before my junior year, we moved to Sterling Heights, and I graduated from Sterling Heights Stevenson High School out there.
Yeah, and I think your high school story is integral in a lot of ways.
For sure.
But it wasn't just your mom that helped you get back in Cass. I was there too.
For sure.
Just make sure we put that on.
No, definitely both people are involved, but I guess, maybe just from my experience, she seemed to be a little bit more adamant about there versus girls.
Yeah, so we went up to the school over the summer and talked to one of the assistant principals, I believe, to get you back in.
Yeah.
and it worked. And then, of course, it didn't last. But anyway, so a couple of things happened along the way. You met someone at King. Let's talk about that.
Messing with that King.
I'm sorry, I said King, but
Oh, at Mumford.
Mumford. My bad.
Oh yeah,
My
yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. So yeah, Mumford is really kind of an interesting thing to think about. But the very first class I had at Mumford um, was, I don't even remember what subject it was, but I remember walking in. The teachers like, maybe mid classroom work. And she stopped to say, just kind of introduce me to the class. And the very first
Mm.
person I saw and I actually noticed was Danielle, who is my wife today, and
Mhm.
mother of my three children. So, yeah, it was just really like, I wouldn't say love at first sight type of thing, but I would say we connected immediately. And I think we both felt that, from that day.
Yeah. Yeah. Our mentor, Jimmy Hammond, would say the universe unfolds as it's supposed to. And so, you had these chopped up experiences in high school, and then oddly enough, the time and fit where you met Miss Danielle. What up, Danielle?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's talk about you leave Sterling Heights Stevenson and you matriculate into college. Where do you go to college?
Oh, yep. So leave Stevenson and go to Michigan State University for 4 years, and then after my time at Michigan State, went to Eastern Michigan to get my master's in sport management. So yes,
Yeah, yeah. And all the time there, Danielle is with you as well,
yeah.
matriculating through Michigan State as well. And
Hmm.
I get a couple of grandkids along the way while you're up there as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, but let's talk a little bit about your athletic experience in high school and things that you kind of picked up from that experience that kind of set the foundation for what you're doing today.
Most definitely. So my freshman year in high school, like I said, I started off at Cass, and Cass is a pretty big school. Um, was big then. I think we had just moved. I don't know if we were the first class to be in that new building that they had, or we weren't too far from it. So it was kind of like a really exciting time for Cass. So first tryouts, the way they do their tryouts is if you make the first round of cuts, you're welcome to come back, and it's a second round of cuts. And if you make it, you make the team. So I remember making the first round of cuts during my freshman year, and then somewhere in between there, we had a pep rally, and we got KDZ, who's a notable rapper in the Detroit area. He came to it. There's a lot of just notable artists who came to the pep
Mhm.
rally. But sharing all that to say, uh, it got all the kids pretty riled up. And me being one of those kids, I ended up getting in some trouble during that pep rally and ended up getting kicked out of Cass Tech. So I don't
Mhm.
know whether I had real chances of making the team and being a part of the Cass Tech program or not. But I do know, that incident pretty much derailed my chances of being on any team. I pretty much missed tryouts and tryout period at all schools. So my freshman year in high school, I didn't play sports scholastically at all. So that was a big thing for me because I had been playing basketball all my life up until that point. So that
Yeah.
was the first time I didn't have anything to do really outside of school.
Yeah.
Um, and then sophomore year, kind of a similar thing. Not, I don't even know if I made it to the first round of tryouts sophomore year, but like I said, got back into Cass Tech, ended up getting in trouble again, was kicked out and suspended for quite a while. Actually, I remember I did try out for the Mumford basketball team. So I didn't miss tryouts completely. But I got to Mumford, and again, it was a relatively big school, but a lot of kids tried out for this basketball team. And I just don't think that I was, one, I wasn't that talented to where I just stood out amongst the group. And two, I was an unknown face. You know, nobody really knew who I was. Like I said, I came to the school halfway through the school year, and I think all those things combined um, limited my chances of actually making that team. So going into my junior year, I kind of got smart about things and realized that a lot of the kids that actually made the basketball team were kids who had been working out with the basketball team earlier prior to tryouts during the summer, or had some type of connection with the coach, or were in the coach's class, whatever the case may be. They weren't just unfamiliar faces.
Yeah.
So I got smart about it, and once I found out where I would be going for my junior year in high school, it was still summer. I remember reaching out to the coach and just asking, like, "Do you guys have anything going on, workout wise? Is the basketball team doing anything?" And they were doing some summer conditioning. So he offered me the chance to come up and work out with the team. I did that, and the first day right away, he just took a liking to me.
Mm.
And I think I just kind of worked hard, and I was talented, so anybody could see that. But I think taking that initiative and just trying to reach out and get that connection early gave me a little bit of an advantage.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And so you're able to play uh, basketball your last 2 years of high school.
Right.
Um, would you say that that impacted? Well, let me say it this way. How did that impact your high school experience? So you have the first 2 years without basketball, and then the last 2 years with it. How did that single factor impact your high school experience?
In a major way, I feel like for me, it just made high school a lot easier, a lot more tolerable, um,
Mm.
more enjoyable. It just was. I got to do what I truly love to do.
Yeah,
For the first time in my high school career. So in comparison to the previous 2 years, I really, when I think back to that time, I really feel like I was almost like coasting through life. Like I
yeah.
really wasn't, happy, for lack of a better word, but
Mm,
definitely low energy, not excited as much. So having
mm,
that opportunity to play basketball just kind of brought some life, back to especially my school experience.
yeah, yeah. Yep. And then so you graduate cum laude
Yeah,
from Sterling High Stevenson,
yeah,
and you end up unfortunately you end up at Michigan State. I don't hold that against you. Go blue.
yeah.
Um, and you go there and you try out for the team there.
Yes, I did. Yeah,
Hmm. Talk about that experience.
yeah. So, interestingly enough, I talked about how I wised up and got smart in high school, and went out early and took the steps to try to make the connection with the coaches. Somewhere along the lines, I forgot the roots. And I did basically what I did my first couple years in high school. I did that in college at Michigan State
Mm,
University, which is a Division I program. One of the most recognized programs in the country, if not more.
yeah, yeah.
So, saying all that to say, you go to Michigan State, they have a tryout. There's literally probably 1,000 people in the gym for the tryout,
Mm,
and
mm, wow.
the way the way they did the tryouts is really, maybe they did a few warm up drills, but other than that, they had like 3 or 4 courts going at once, and it's
Mm,
basically this team playing this team playing this team, this team playing that team, and it's like,
Mm,
you gotta show your stuff, and it's like,
mm-hmm,
you know, so again, me just being realistic, I don't even know if I was a D1 caliber player, to be
mm,
completely honest. I think that
mm,
I would have been more successful on the D2 level. I definitely think I
mm,
was, I could have done D3, but I think even a D2 NAIA type of level would have fit me
mm,
perfectly. Um, but saying all that to say, being at a D1 tryout, if you're not LeBron James or you're not coming in just really wowing the crowd, something like that, it's going to be hard to make a basketball team when they're unfamiliar with you.
yeah,
Maybe they're trying to fill one spot, one or two spots. So 1,000 people in the gym, slim pickings.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's your athletic side of it. You also go there and you graduate with a bachelor's in kinesiology.
Yeah.
And then at some point you start this, and this is what we're going to talk a lot about.
Hmm.
You start your business, which is now Foundation Made Students Athletics.
Hmm.
So talk about the creation of this and the thought behind Made Student Athletics that led you to forming it.
Yeah. So this is a perfect segue because literally my experience, my athletic experience, and all the things we talked about was really the catalyst to me getting started in my businesses. So to kind of make it a little bit of a short version, after I didn't make the team during that Michigan State tryout, um, that summer I ended up having my first child. So this is my freshman year in college. Found out, my wife, or really at the time my girlfriend, was pregnant, and I would be having a child in August. So saying all that to say, I really put sports to the side and did everything I could just to kind of prepare for my daughter. Um, and then it wasn't until I want to say my junior year in college where I actually was just kind of maybe examining my life and was thinking man, like how did I get here? You know, really realized I went to Michigan State just off of following my girlfriend. I didn't really
Mm,
take any time to think about it or really make a calculated decision about where I wanted to
mm,
go. So, you know, knowing how much I love basketball, it's just like where did the basketball go? Um, you know, uh, what things could I have done differently? And to me, the biggest thing was if I had a mentor, if I had somebody to kind of coach me along the way, I don't think I would have even went to Michigan State University. So I remember having people tell me, "Oh, you're good enough to play at the college level. You could do this, you could do that." But that was kind of like in one ear, out the other. I never really did anything about it. So for me, it was like if I had that experience, how many other youth are out there having a similar experience and could benefit, from somebody kind of guiding them along the way. So that is what birthed at the time what we called Detroit Made, um, and what I do now.
mm-hmm. Yeah, so you have Detroit Made, which is now Made Student Athletics.
Yeah,
And what does it do, let's say, on the nonprofit end of it?
yeah. So on the nonprofit side, really what we do is just try to open up opportunity for youth who are in the urban areas in particular to experience sport on a more, I want to say, a grand scale, in the sense that you know there are other things involved outside of just playing the sport itself. So there's a term that I picked up during my research, uh, before starting the business, called athletication. And I can't remember the guy that actually came up with this term, but I remember him defining it as the tendency for us to push our urban youth towards sports and entertainment as a
Mm,
sole career path. And,
mm,
you know, I felt like that was me, and not that, I feel like my parents or anything like that were kind of pushing me to go one direction or another, but just my community. That just is what we talked about. We talked about
mm,
being basketball players or professional NFL players. We didn't talk about nothing else. like I,
yeah,
so you know, when I read that, it was like, man, like, yeah, that's true. I could see that. And then just even along my high school career, I could see kids who were actually playing for the team who uh, maybe got, um, extra credit for certain things that they didn't do work or they didn't have to come to class. And it's like, you know, on some level, you may be setting that kid up for failure when you
yeah,
think you're helping them out. So going back to the term athletication, uh, Detroit Made was really founded on this idea of being anti-athletication and
okay,
using sports as a vehicle for success and not the source of success. So we just aim to open our kids' eyes to the other opportunities around sports.
yeah. So talk about where Made is now. How is it going, and what kind of impact do you feel like it's having at this point?
Yeah, so made the two sides. So with the nonprofit side right now, it's a little bit quiet, and we've been quiet pretty much since COVID. But we still host a variety of programs, but we don't do as much fundraising and things like that as we once did. We did have a travel basketball program at one point, which we've kind of put to the side since the COVID as well. But uh, currently, we offer a free basketball program every first and third Friday of the month that we call Midnight Run. And basically, what that is like our basketball party. So we invite a bunch of kids in, we split them up into teams. We referee and officiate the games. We supervise the games and make sure every player gets a chance to play. We usually have a DJ or we'll have the music going in the background while they're playing. And it's really just kind of something we did for one, the community, kind of get the kids in the gym in a safe place, but also to kind of give our kids that work out with us throughout the week an opportunity to play and use some of the stuff that they work on in a game like experience. So that's our biggest program right now under the foundation. And we do a couple other things like brunch and basketball once a year. We do a Move for Mother's Day event once a year. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm a parent that's interested in getting my child into the Made student athletics, what do I need to do?
Yeah, the best way to do that would be go to our website, which is maystudentathlethics.com. And we always offer a free week trial. So, our 1 week trial allows you to come in and see what we're about. It allows us to, meet the participant and really just learn about who's coming in and has interest in us. And be realistic about whether this is the right program, you know, for
Yeah.
the youth, or recommend another direction for them if necessary.
Yeah. Because if a student comes into your program and they stay in your program,
Hmm.
you're hoping that they gain what from that experience?
So ultimately, we want every youth that comes through May Student Athletics to graduate high school with an opportunity to play college sports at any other levels. So, and whatever sport that is that they aspire to play. So we're not limited to just basketball. We have a kid that plays hockey with us right now. I actually was working with him today. So that was pretty fun. But we have hockey. We have some kids who do boxing with us. We have some soccer kids. So we're not limited to just basketball training. Basketball is our foundation. But ultimately, we want our kids to graduate with what we call being college sports ready. And, you know, that includes the college part, the education part, you know, ready for the
Yeah.
academics, ready for the stuff outside of school, and of course, ready for the athletic training and all of the games and things that come with that.
Yeah. So if I sent my child to you, what does that look like is it a weekly thing? Is it a daily thing? How would that look? And then what does that make up of? So if
Mhm.
my kid is coming once a week, what are they doing for that week? Or if they come in every day, what are they doing for those days?
Yeah. So best way to kind of explain it is to we think about it like group exercise classes. So throughout the week, we host what we call student athlete development sessions, and our sessions run Monday through Saturday. During the week, we go after school hours, so basically 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And on Saturdays, we go in the morning between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Now, as far as scheduling, it's really just based on the availability of the parent and the student,
Mm,
in connection with our hours. But we have workout sessions every day between those hours, and
mm,
a parent can decide I want to bring my son in Monday and Wednesday. This week we're gonna do Tuesday, Thursday. This week, next week, we might do all 5 days. A week after that, but they
mm,
have the opportunity to come in and work out as often as they like, because we're going to be here. We're going to provide the training for them. During that training, uh, they go through 20 minutes of academic time, where we in the classroom setting, and depending on the day, we're talking to them about different life skills or different character values. So like right now, we're focusing on social awareness and just being aware of the opportunities in our community and in our circle. But there's times when we're talking about goal setting, or we're talking about how to build a resume, things like that. Once they're done in the classroom, we take them into the actual training session. And the first part is 10 minutes of mobility training, helping kids stay injury free, on the court, not on the sidelines.
mm,
And then after their mobility session, they go into a speed training, helping them jump higher, run faster, things of that nature. They have a 20-minute block where they work specifically on whatever sport they do. So, again, like I said, they have the opportunity to be multi sport athletes. If it's basketball one day, football another day, whatever sport you want to focus on for that 20-minute block, that's your sports skill time. And then the last 30 minutes of every workout is strength and conditioning. So, helping them get stronger and, you know, bigger and all of those good things.
yeah. Yeah. So talk a little bit to me about you have a nonprofit perspective of this, a portion of it, and then you have a for-profit.
Yeah.
Distinguish between the two for the audience.
Yeah. So through our for-profit side is where we provide most of our training services. So kind of the program that I just mentioned to you is more so on our for-profit side. Um, any of our camps are usually through the for-profit side. Um, and we do a lot of called clinics, where maybe we'll go out for once a week, work with a school or work with a rec center and provide like a basketball class, for example. So all of those things we run under the for-profit side. On our nonprofit side, that's where we do all of our free events. That's where we do all of our fundraising, all of our activities, and anything we do where we're giving back to the community. Like every year, we do a back to school giveaway, backpack giveaway. So anything like that, we do under the nonprofit side. And also, we have some kids who may need financial assistance. So to participate in our training program, if a parent maybe is from a low income household type of situation, we provide financial assistance and scholarship them in some cases.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. 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 So let's talk about you have done this. How long has May been in operation?
So the nonprofit was started in 2014, and then
Mm-hmm.
we added the for-profit side in 2015. So it's
Okay.
going
Eight or
on
nine
8 years.
years.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, eight to 9 years. All right. So you're 8 to 9 years in it experience,
Yeah.
and now you have a chance to transport yourself back 8 to 9 years and give that young man some advice on what you're about to encounter. What are
Yeah.
some words of wisdom you would give him?
Man, I think one of the biggest things would be to really get the business side in order, um,
Mm,
or just be mindful of the business side. I think coming in, I just was so excited about doing the work of helping, you know, kids who I felt like were like me, um, and people who you know were in a situation where they just had that guidance. Who knows uh, what they could do with whatever sport they're playing. So I just was excited about the work at first. I didn't really take into accountability, setting up payment plans and uh,
mhm,
how to make sure you're making money on a regular basis, profit and loss, all of that type of stuff. I didn't even think about any of that. So that would be one of the biggest things. And then I think even with that, it's almost like a double-edged sword. I feel like on some level you can get too much into the business side, and
mhm,
that can almost take away from your passion and
mhm,
why you got involved in the first place. So um, that's why I said just being mindful of both aspects.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Sean and I, when we talk about this podcast, the most important thing for us is keeping the spirit of the podcast. And the way when we thought of the podcast and thought it up as an idea,
Yeah,
keeping that spirit central and protecting that spirit and
yeah,
not letting anything kind of come in the way of that. So that's what it sounds a lot like to me. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about other things that you're doing from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So you have Made Athletics,
Hmm.
you have the for-profit and the nonprofit segment of that.
Hmm.
What other things are you doing with your 1440 in a day?
Yeah. So right now, I also basically I rent vehicles out via a platform called Turo, and this is something I've been doing now. I think for about 2 years. Um, so that's one of the major things. One of the major things I'm spending time on a consistent basis. Um, And then I'm also working on a clothing brand currently. So that's something new that's in the pot. But yeah, those are my things right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Talk a little bit more about Turo. So how
Yeah.
does that work? If somebody is interested in getting a car, what do they have to do?
Yeah. So the Turo platform works a lot like Airbnb, but is basically the Airbnb for car rentals. So you would just go on to Turo.com, or they have a Turo app, and you could choose the dates and the times of your desired rental. You can choose the type of car you're interested in. You're looking for an SUV, or you're looking for something luxurious. You kind of go through those options, and basically you book a vehicle. And on the other end of that, there's what's called a host, who is responsible for making sure the car is safe, making sure the car is in good condition, um, making sure you have everything you need when you arrive for whatever your trip is. And pretty much it's a simple transaction. After that, you get the car keys, you have a car to use for your time, and they get paid once you're done.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about in totality
Yeah.
where you are and where you see yourself going. So let's imagine that there was a switch that you could flip, and you're doing and experiencing everything that you want to experience with regards to Detroit Made or Made Student Athletics and all your other various businesses. Talk to me about what that looks like. You flip the switch and it's going beautifully like you would hope it to be going.
Yeah. So for me, the biggest thing would be, uh, I want to say, automation, or
Mm,
everything kind of running itself. Um,
mm,
and really, for me, it's about, you know, starting to build wealth, and starting to leave a legacy just for my children and, grandchildren and things of that nature. So when I visualize what you talk about, what I'm seeing is more of like a family business structure, and these businesses that we talked about today being subsidiaries up under that larger umbrella and kind of funding our generational wealth. So um, that's where we're headed.
mm. All right, very good. So this podcast goes to a worldwide audience. Think about what somebody in the audience can tangibly do to help you attain that goal, that vision that you just spoke of, and speak to our audience. What is something that they can tangibly do to help support you get to that place?
Yeah. So one of the major things right now, we're always looking for volunteers. So we have a 3v3 basketball league that we're running, um, pretty much every season. It usually goes for 6 to 8 weeks. We're always in need of coaches. We're always in need of scorekeepers, referees, things of that nature. Even in the Midnight Run program, a lot of times uh, it's just me myself running the entire event. But we can use coaches and referees during that program, as well as we've had a couple of special guest uh, referees who may have some popularity in the world. So a lot of times it's fun just to have like a former NBA player come and referee a basketball game for the kids, or um, a really popular DJ come and play the music for us. So we'd love to have volunteers for those programs, and also even sponsors if you're interested in promoting your brand and kind of supporting youth at the same time. That'd be extremely beneficial for us as well. So
Okay, so volunteers and sponsorship. Beyond that, you kind of you see it kind of trending in the way you want it to go at this point.
yeah, definitely trending in the way we want to go. There's a lot of work to be done, for sure. Right now we're at a spot where we're leasing space, um, within the building, but we want to get to a point where we have our own standalone building, and then
Yeah,
maybe from there have multiple standalone buildings. So yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. All right, so I think I want to get to this. Let's talk a lot about talk a little bit about what it's like being a dad, right? So you're a dad 3 times over.
Yeah,
You made me a granddad 3 times over.
yeah,
Talk about talk about that part of your life.
man, it's really great. It's to me, it's challenging. It's the most challenging aspect of my life, and that's kind of like the good and the bad part about it.
Mm,
Um, but you know, I think I'm somebody who kind of uh, benefits from challenge. I think the pressure
mm,
makes me turn up a little bit. So,
mm,
um, being a dad is just one of those things that always kind of puts a mirror in front of you and make you
mm.
really look at yourself like, you ain't doing it. You ain't doing it like you think you're doing it. So, you know, um, it's great, man. Those moments are always great with your kids and things like that. But at the same time, it's one of those things that challenges me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you have one daughter and two sons. Is it is a difference between raising daughters and sons? Because I've only had the pleasure of raising sons. Let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So there is definitely a difference. Um, I'm still figuring out what the difference is. I think, to be honest, but I do think um, now I'm at a point where I don't think it's as big a difference as I once
Mm,
did.
okay.
Maybe I feel like it's promoted. So with all that being said, it's different, but I don't think too different. You know.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, some of the things, some of the tenets of what you stand on has to apply to all, right?
Yeah,
It can't
for
just
sure,
apply to one, especially along gender lines.
for
All
sure.
right, yeah, I thought I better chronicle that as well. All
Yeah,
right, so
yeah,
let's
yeah.
jump into what
Yeah,
I think
hold on.
is.
I want to shout out my children, man. We brought them up. So Daria,
Oh, absolutely.
yes, Dario, Darius Jr., and Daniel. My three babies. Make
Hmm.
me the person I am. So shout out to them.
Yeah, yeah. While you're at it, you might as well shout out the wife as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's Mrs. Lewis, as I call her. Yep. So Danielle Lewis. I mentioned her early in the podcast, so so I let her slide on this part. But yep, Danielle Lewis. Shout out, mom. Yep.
Yep, that's the whole gang. Shout out to
Yeah.
your mom as well, Kristen
Hmm.
Percy, Kristen
Browner now. Yep.
Browner,
Yep.
Browner. My bad. Uh, Shout out to her as well. All right, so let's get to this most challenging question of the podcast. You ready?
Yes.
Have you ever graced the cover of a magazine?
Never graced the cover of a magazine. I have been featured in news articles.
Mm,
I think a few times for basketball in high school. But I know Maid was in a news article um, around 2013, 2014, but
mm,
never on the cover.
mm. Have you ever envisioned yourself being on a magazine cover? Has that ever crossed your mind throughout your years?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm up and down about that. And this is uh, kind of speaks to my personality, but there are times where it's like I think about it and it's like, yeah, maybe I could see that, but it's not something that is like I really want to be on the cover of a magazine. So I think I'm one of the few people who rather be behind the scenes and you not know who I am unless you know who I am. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Believe it or not, I'm the same way. Sean got me out front like this on
yeah,
this podcast, but I'd rather be behind the scenes and making moves that way.
right.
But as we do for each and every one of our guests, is we place them on the Dripping in Black magazine cover. So my executive producer Sean Smith S Squared is going to show yours.
Sweet.
Yep. So that is a parting gift that
Like
we will give out, laminate, and send to you at a later date as a big thank you
that's
for
cool.
coming on to the podcast. And that will be your first magazine cover of
Yes.
many more to come. But
Yeah.
we'll always have that first place slot.
Thank you. Thank you. That's cool.
Yeah. Any shout outs you want to give? I know you did the kids already. Anybody else you want to shout out before we close this thing out?
Um, Definitely want to shout out you guys for doing what you're doing with Dripping in Black and getting me on and this opportunity. Um, and then just you as my dad, this is something that to me is like a maybe like another chapter for you, and it gives me something to be inspired by, to see, my dad still doing things, still trying things, as he gets older, and even my mom same thing. So shout out to her. Um, Shout out to the whole Lewis clan, like we said earlier, and then just the made team. My coaches are. I have some great coaches, and not just in the sense of coaching and training, but just as people. The
Mhm.
people that we have on our team right now, I really feel like represent what made represents for me in my eyes, and that's just like I said at the beginning, trying to be the best you can be, day in and day out. So yeah, shout out to Coach Leon. Shout out to our other coach, Coach Sully. Shout out to all the May student athletes and health leads. That's our adult training program as well. So we do have adults who come and work out with us. So if you're interested in getting a workout and you're a mom or a dad, don't be shy. So yeah, shout out to all those people.
Yeah. Yeah. Drop anything social media wise and internet wise people can do to reach out and try to link up with you in any possible way.
Yeah, so best way is always to go to our website, maystudent-athletics.com. We try to start there with any of our promotion and posting and things like that. You'll see things there first. And then on Instagram, Facebook, we're Made Student Athletics, all one word, at Made Student Athletics. We do have a YouTube page as well. Again, that's Made Student Athletics. So we post workouts with our kids from there, or like I said, we have a 3-on-3 basketball league. We post some of our highlights or even full games to the YouTube channel. And I think that's it, social media wise. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Big thanks to Darius Lewis for coming on and sharing this story with us. Love you to death.
Love you too.
Be in touch. As always, we want to give a huge thanks to all of our listeners, viewers, supporters, and subscribers, and remind you all that the DIBK Drip Shop is open. Go to dibkdripshop.com to cop dripping in black merch, such as the t-shirt that I'm wearing here, the cup that I've been drinking my lemon water out of, and lots of other merchandise there for your choosing. Represent Black excellence. And as always, until next time, be kind, be loving, and be excellent on purpose. It is a choice.
On the next Dripping in Black podcast is psychotherapist and founder of Community One Stop, Ms. Jasmine Noble.
But, there's the harmful effects of gentrification that pushes people out of their community. And they've been there for years. And now because, there's a grocery store built down the road, it raises their taxes, and now it's hard for them to pay their taxes. I think something is intrinsically wrong with that. So buying the land helps us to preserve the harmful effects of gentrification, to preserve that community.
You have just experienced a Dripping in Black production.